these streets in a carnival of sights to see. All the cheap thrill seekers, the vendors and the dealers, they crowded around me. Have I been blind? Have I been lost inside myself and my own mind? Hypnotized, mesmerized by what my eyes have seen.
I was just wondering how you're going to be, at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Are you prepared?
I'm prepared. I'm all right. I'm all right with it.
And how?
I'm all right with it, but like I said, remember, let them know that I know that the cops knew who I was. After Richard Mallory died, I left prints everywhere, and they covered it up and let me kill the rest of those guys to turn me into a serial killer. I know they did, because I was no professional serial killer or anything, or murderer, or whatever you want to call it, I wasn't professional at what I was doing.
Aileen,
I did some sloppy work, and I left
how have you
using sonic pressure on my head since 1997. Trays that were attempted murder and everything. I had to wash all my food off. And then one day I didn't wash my food off, and I was sick for 3 weeks, almost died.
What's going on, everyone? Going to take the history. I'm not sure how the volume is. It's a really busy road. A lot going on. Is the video I've been trying to get out to do for a while. Even though I said I was going to have some delays in my videos, I wanted to take an opportunity to get out here. Here I am at Rose Bay. Rose Bay is a bay that connects here in between New Smyrna Beach and Daytona's Beach in the area of Port Orange. And why I'm here is for the final locations where the infamous female serial killer Aileen Wuornos spent her last days. Come along with me as we go through this video where I take you to the hotel where she stayed with her girlfriend Tyra. I will take you to the final place where she spent her final afternoon and drank her final drink as a free woman in society. If you like my videos, please make sure to subscribe. Make sure to comment, let me know what you like, what you dislike moving forward. Let me know what you want to see next with some videos. As always, continue to look for the history in film. Behind me is the Scoot Inn, and about half a mile past that is the Final Resort bar where she spent her final evening. Most of this video is going to be in the form of voiceovers because there's just a lot of traffic going on here. This is A1A, which is a very busy highway. It used to be extremely more busy back in the day prior to all the major interstates. However, I'm going to try to make this video as engaging as possible. I'm going to take you to the location where she spent her last afternoon. I will take you to the location where she stayed in the months and potentially up to the last year or so of her freedom. And I will take you to the place where she left the murder weapon that she used to kill all of those men. Whether or not you believe that it was done in self-defense, so you believe that it was done in the form of cruel murder, is up for debate. Only a few people know exactly the details of that. And none of them are here to live to tell the tale. To put it into perspective, right ahead of me is the Scoot Inn, which was the Fairview Inn when Aileen lived there. She used to stay in room number 9, now called room number 7. If you head just past that next traffic light, about a quarter of a mile on the left, you will find the Last Resort, which was the final place that Aileen spent as a free person. It is at the location where federal agents came to the final resort, propositioned her to go back to the hotel. As she walked outside, she was greeted by a large amount of federal agents and she was arrested. I'm not sure how well you guys can hear me, but right in front of me is the Rose Bay. This was the bay where Aileen Wuornos threw the murder weapon that she used to kill all of her victims. She took the revolver, she threw it into the bay, and it took days of diving for the scuba divers to find the murder weapon. Nice little sunset on this Friday evening. Right down there, somewheres in the bay, is where she launched the murder weapon, the firearm, the handgun that she used to kill all of her victims. A manhunt was initiated and Wuornos was tracked down to Port Orange, Florida, where local forces had to be called off from arresting her immediately, so that the task force could track her movements and see whether she made contact with Tyra Moore, the other suspect. The next afternoon, January 9th, 1991, Wuornos was arrested at the Last Resort bar, where she was advised that she was wanted in relation to minor outstanding charges against Lloyd Grody. The press were not informed of the arrest, and no mention was made of the murder charges at that stage. The following day, Tyra Moore was traced to her sister's home in Pittston, Pennsylvania, where she revealed to the police that Wuornos had admitted to the murders of Mallory to her on the day it had happened, but Moore had deliberately avoided discussing any other suspicious incidents with her, fearing for her own safety. Moore made a deal to help the police build a case against Wuornos, and the two conducted a series of recorded telephone conversations over the next few days, during which Moore pleaded with Wuornos to confess to spare Moore from prosecution as an accomplice. Wuornos was initially cautious on the phone, but faced with the prospect that Moore would also be prosecuted, she confessed to the 6 murders on January 16, 1991, claiming that they all had been acts of self-defense and that Moore had had no involvement in any of them. Given the media attention surrounding the case and the relative rarity of female serial killers, Wuornos was a national celebrity overnight. Within 2 weeks of their arrest, Wuornos had sold the film rights to her life story and expected to become rich, not realizing that Florida law specifically forbid profiting from criminal enterprise in this way. Even investigators and lawyers involved in the case, not forbidden by this restriction, were hiring their own media laws to negotiate their own book and film deals. During January 2001, a 44-year-old rancher's wife and born-again Christian, Arlene Prale, contacted Wuornos via letter. She informed Wuornos that God had instructed her to do so. Giving her home number and asking that Wuornos contact her, this marked the beginning of a bizarre friendship, with Prale defending Wuornos' self-defense plea through a flurry of media interviews for most of 1991, and culminated in Prale's legal adoption of Wuornos on November 22, 1991, again on God's instruction to do so. The Scoot Inn was the Fairview Inn, where Aileen lived with Tyra Moore. This is the Last Resort bar where Aileen was found the day of her arrest. This was the last place where she had her last strength as a free woman. Between 1989 and 1990, Wuornos shot and killed 7 men in the state of Florida. Although she originally claimed that the men in question had attempted to rape her, authorities found this difficult to believe. Instead, they suspected that the true motive behind her crimes was robbery. This is because she pawned many of her victims' belongings. Over the years, Wuornos changed her story a number of times. On one occasion, she stated that she robbed her victims and then shot them in order to avoid leaving any witnesses behind.
In January of 1992, she was convicted of the murder of Richard Charles Mallory and sentenced to death. Over the months that followed, she also received death sentences for the other killings. 10 years later, on October 9, 2002, Aileen Wuornos was executed by lethal injection. She denied a final meal. Instead, she received a cup of coffee instead. This is the Final Resort Hotel on A1A in Port Orange, Florida. Much of the original bar is no longer in use. Much of the bar is now behind it on the property. You can still walk inside and see the inside of the Last Resort bar and see where Aileen would have spent her last minutes of freedom. On the outside of the bar, people can leave various different markings, as well as they can draw and write their names on the inside of the bar as well. There was a series of bricks that was specifically stated to be for Aileen. On my initial visit, I did not have the opportunity to see the exact bricks in question with Eileen's name written on it saying about the serial killer. But I did find the shrine here that pays tribute to her existence and her presence at that last resort. The shrine states her full name of Aileen Carol Wuornos. It states the fact that the 7 murders occurred between 1989 and 1990. Provides all the aliases that she's used, as well as explains the last meal that she had the morning before being executed. Her ashes are laid, with some of them being buried at a tree on the property of the Last Resort. I did not have the opportunity to see the tree, but would like to come back again one day to see the tree. The remaining of her cremains can be found at a tree in Michigan. Many visitors leave various different tokens and gifts at the Last Resort for Aileen. Here's an old sign stating the Fairview Motel was to the right. The Fairview Motel is now called the Scoot Motel, and it's about a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile ahead before you get to the interstate.
You killed 7 men.
Yes, you
And I'm
did.
asking you, what got you to kill the 7
And I'm
men?
telling you because the cops let me keep killing them, Nick. Don't you get it?
Not everybody is killing 7 people. So there must have been something in you that was getting you to do
Oh, you
that.
are lost, Nick.
So
I was a
explain-
hitchhiking hooker.
Right.
Running into trouble. I shoot the guy if I ran into trouble. Physical trouble. The cops knew it. When the physical trouble came along, let her clean the streets, and then we'll pull her in.
But how
That's
come
why.
there was so much?
As always, continue to look for the history in film. I hope you enjoyed this video. Look forward to seeing all of you and some future videos come along with me as we continue to look for the history in film. As we continue to look and bring history to life. Filming locations, personal graves, famous graves, you name it. Have a great evening, everyone.